Okay, just remember there are three ways to solve a quadratic equation. There is definitive factorization. We will not cover it because factorization is easy. You just need to familiarize yourself with it. And let me just give you how factorization is basically in terms of finding terms. And I hate this process because it's good. I mean, there are some questions that just say find the answer of this quadratic equation by factorization or by factoring out. Okay, let's say you have x squared plus 5x minus 6. The rule of thumb is that you need to find two numbers. Okay, you need to find two numbers that add. Okay, just make sure you know this, that add to form the middle term. Okay, so these two numbers, whichever those two numbers are, they must give me positive 5. Okay, but when multiplied should give the last term. Okay, so it's a lot to think about here, and obviously you can see that 6 and negative 1. Okay, we can see that 6 plus negative 1 is 5. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. And so these are the two factors. But the problem comes now when you have factors that are actually not even whole numbers. Like let's say the answer of x is actually 3.2. How do you get to guess all through that? So I always say when you are solving quadratic equation, I'll always advise completing the square, or at least using the formula. Okay, I still have seen a lot, because there is factorization, there is completing the square, and there is using the formula. Okay, the formula still most people get to make a lot of mistake because that formula is quite huge, and any tiny mistake. But also here in completing the square, I just find that completing the square is a good form of the, remember that complete the square is actually just a derivative of that forms about the formula. So I always think completing the square is the best way to solve any quadratic equation in your life. And once you master the step and you use it to solve anything, you will never be wrong. Then trying to guess here factors that you spend hours in the exam just to find the factors. So yeah, there have been ways to make it faster to find factors, but I still think like completing a square just gives you the answer straight on. Okay, so we are going to look how to complete a square. Okay, if you do not know, you may want to listen. Okay, so firstly you want x to have the coefficient of 1 always when you are completing the square. So that means we need to divide by -2, -2, -2. Okay, so we cancel off. We have now 1x squared, and that's what we want. The first coefficient needs to be 1. Okay, then you have positive 3x. Okay, there you have -3/2. Okay, is equal to 0. Then the second thing that you want to do is that you want to take the third term, the last part of the expression, to the other side of the equation. Okay, so you have 3/2 here. Okay, then what do? We insert, okay, b/2 squared. Okay, always you insert it, you add it. What you do on the left side, you also do it on the right side. So we have x squared plus 3x. Okay, then we insert b squared. B, remember, is the second one, so b, the coefficient is 3, so we have 3/2. Okay, always squared, okay, is equal to 3/2 here, plus we do the same 3/2 squared. Okay, there you have it. And then now here is where you have to listen, and here is what people might go wrong here, is that you write x there, then you take this sign. If there was a negative, you take a negative here. You take the sign of the middle term. Here it's positive. Then you take whatsoever is in the bracket, which is 3/2. Then you square it. Okay, remember x plus the sign of the middle term, then what is in the bracket. So there you get your definitive 15/4. Okay, then how do you remove the square? You create a square root, and you have x 3/2 is equal to plus minus, remember what we talked about on the common mistake people do, 15/4. It can go either way. Okay, so there you can obviously see that x is either equal to positive the square root of 15/4 minus 3/2 coming this side, or is equal to negative square root of 15/4 minus 3/2. And you'll be able to get, if you calculate, well, you'll be able to get 0.44, or x is equal to negative 3.44. And it's very important that you always try to give all the answers. And like I said, these are just the things you need to get. The only thing that you need to get, it has to be in coefficient 1. That's number 1. Number 2 is that you need to take the third part of the expression, 2, which is c. So you take c to the other side of life on the equation, then you insert b squared, then you form a bracket here consisting of x, the sign of the middle term, and whatever is in the bracket, which is 3/2, and you square it up, then you solve here, then you make sure it's plus minus, then you'll be able to get your two answers, which concludes the fact that, remember, always if it's a quadratic, it has two answers. Okay, it always has two answers. And try to do this. Okay, I just placed here, and how to check your answer if it's wrong, you simply just tap it in. So you tap in 0.44 inside here, you'll get 0. And just try to do this quickly right now. Just pause and try to do it and see if you can get wonderful answers.